I'm Ric Edelman. Ever dreamed of making your own liquor? No, not the rot gut you drank in college. I'm talking about vintage varietals that sell for hundreds of dollars a bottle. Well, we're going to introduce you to a guy who can make those dreams of you being your own winemaker come true. Plus, what's the likelihood that you and your spouse will retire at the same time? And is it really worth putting your money in that old 401k? And finally, I've got a special guest for you. I won't tell you his name, but he's red and fuzzy. And you need to go get your kids and grandkids because he wants to teach them the truth about money.
Best-selling author and founder of one of the nation's largest financial planning firms, Ric Edelman.
What do singer Boz Scaggs, director Francis Ford Coppola, and football legend Mike Ditka all have in common? They're all winemakers. And you can do the same thing, starting your own wine label. I sent my radio show's producer, Rick Fowler, to Sonoma Valley to get the story. He talked with Steve Ryan, vice president at the Crush Pad Winery.
Right now, this vineyard here is probably about 2-3 weeks away, and that'll pop to life, and each bud will form a couple shoots. Those will be trained up on the trellises, and then each shoot will create a couple clusters of grapes on it. We're very different than the historic winery. We are the winery where you can come and be the winemaker yourself. From grape to bottle, you get to do as much or as little as you want. As you can see, we're not doing this out of our garage. We are a professional operation, been making wine. This is going into our 9th harvest.
So for the person that wants to come in and create their own wine, what are the questions you ask?
Number one thing is, what do they like to drink? If it's a Pinot Noir, then what area of the state do they like to source that fruit from? If it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, do they like a real big tannic, high acid driven cab that then if they say yes, that's going to drive me to talk to them about hillside fruit. If they want something a little more restrained and elegant, we're going to talk a little bit more up valley. We've got clients that are making, some make 50 cases a year, and they just sell it to their friends and family, and it basically supports their hobby to make wine, and they really enjoy it. We do have a lot of clients that are corporate executives, and there are some that have actually closed deals because of the fact that they've gifted some of this wine and they credit it to this. And then we've got other clients that are making thousands of cases a year, where they're really making a business out of it. They're building tasting rooms. They're really, leveraging it as a way to incubate the brand and start a new career.
Is there a profit margin in there? Is it something that an individual could create a business from?
You basically make wine without the retail markup. Because we're making the same fruit of $120 bottles, but you're doing it for $35, $40 a bottle. And we take care of everything from the production to logistics and shipping and reporting and all of that, and licensing. I mean, one thing people don't realize sometimes is that it's not easy to sell wine. You have to be dedicated. And so it really comes down to how much time and effort you're going to put into that aspect of it. It's tough to lose with wine because at the end of the day, you're going to have this stock of wine that if you can't sell it, you're going to drink it.
Rick, welcome to the program.
Great to be here.
So it strikes me as the most liquid of all assets. A bad joke, I suppose. But is it really something where people who just love to drink wine finally say to themselves, why don't I just bottle my own kind?
Well, if you have a specific taste in mind, if you have a specific grape in mind, you basically call your own shots. It's your blend.
And I guess celebrities are doing this with perfume and cologne, so why not bottle the wine and put their own brand on it and market it as theirs?
It's a great idea, and you'd be surprised the minimum that you can get in on is about a $6,000 investment. You have to get 25 cases, which is 300 bottles. That's at the $20 a bottle rate, which is the low end. But again, you choose the grapes. If you want a nicer grape, if you want Bordeaux grapes from France, they can provide those too.
So it's astonishing that virtually every business these days is becoming commoditized. You don't have to go live in Sonoma Valley and become a full-time vintner and wine grower, grape grower to make your own wines. You can literally farm out the chores to it, just focusing on the parts of the business that you find to be the most interesting.
You can either call it in, and that's it, or you can go in and stomp your own grapes, however much you want to be involved.
And they're happy to do it. So they'll provide the facilities, the resources, the back office accounting, the marketing and distribution. You simply provide the funding and the capital to make it happen.
And choose the label design.
What do they think of next? Rick, thanks so much.
Sure.
How often do couples retire together? Is it all of the time, 3/4 of the time, half the time, or 1/5 of the time? We'll have the answer for you in just a few minutes. Stick around.
At a recent conference, investment advisors were asked just one question. What is the one thing clients must do?
The clients must be honest with us. It's like a computer. Garbage in, garbage out.
They have to be able to work with me and to at least listen to what I'm telling them as far as advice.
I think my clients really need to take a close look at their own financial priorities. Not something that they heard at work or at a dinner party, but really take a hard look at their own family priorities and be able to lay those out in a concise manner.
Pay attention to their goals. Unless you envision your goals, you can't get there.
They really have to have an idea of what their goals are when they're spending their money, and that's short-term as well as long-term.
This answer may surprise you. Only 20% of couples, only 1 out of 5, retire at the same time.
Got a question. My wife inherited a bunch of Series HH United States bonds, savings bonds. And when we tried to get them cashed at our local bank, they said they couldn't do it. We needed to go to a Federal Reserve Bank.
Correct.
And I'm not sure.
Yeah, just go to treasurydirect.gov. It is really ridiculous. You can cash in your EE savings bonds at your local bank branch, but they won't cash in the HHs. And by the way, HHs are a result of EEs. So the only way someone owns a HH is that they had a EE and they rolled it to a HH. And the only way to cash in or sell a HH is to take them directly to the Treasury. It's absurd. It's annoying. It's cumbersome, it's obnoxious, which is just adding fuel to the fire of why I have said always, and I wrote about this in my book, The Truth About Money, only have 2 words for savings bonds: dump them. They're ridiculous. The interest rate's very low, and the liquidity issue is a hassle. And yeah, I'm afraid, Dick, it will be a bit of a hassle for you. But go to treasurydirect.gov, and you can learn more details there on how to redeem your HH bonds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. I wish I had a better answer for it. I mean, why can't the banks do it?
I've never seen why they treat the EEs different than the HHs, or the I bonds too.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's just the way they tend to do this nonsense. We've got Rick on the phone. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing good. Good morning to everybody. I have a question about portfolio rebalancing.
Okay.
So for my 401k from work. So I've decided to do that every 6 months, and I'm just set a point in the time in the calendar, end of the calendar year is it, and between the stocks and bonds and cash and natural resources, I've noticed that there's only about maybe a 2% difference between stocks and bonds. So is it worth going through the effort to starting to sell funds and buy others?
Rick, you're discovering the flaw with calendar-based rebalancing. We talk often about the vital importance of rebalancing because if you don't rebalance, your portfolio can drift from its original design and become riskier and lower performing as a result. So you're smart to recognize the importance of rebalancing. But the way most people do it is as you've described, rebalancing based on the calendar. And it's flawed because, as you've noted, hey, it's time to rebalance, but why bother? The portfolio hasn't drifted very much.
Well, the better way and how we rebalance for our clients is on an as-needed basis. The problem is it's a lot of work.
Isn't that market timing?
No. And here's why. This is a really good distinction. I'm glad you raised it. We're talking about a percentage rebalance. In other words, you look at the portfolio and you say, I'm going to allow each investment to drift within a range. If I put 20% of my money in a given asset, I might let it grow to 22% or fall to 18%. And as long as the asset stays in that narrow range, I'll leave it alone. But if it drifts beyond that, say the asset rises to 23 or falls to 17, then I'm going to rebalance and bring it back to where it ought to be. That's not market timing, and here's why. A market timer makes a change because of his prediction of what's going to happen next. Rebalancers are making a change based on what, in fact, has already happened.
I don't want to beat up Rick too much because he's doing it better than most people. In other words, calendar rebalancing is a heck of a lot better than not doing it at all.
Absolutely right, but it is relatively inefficient, and that is why, Rick, what we would encourage you to do is to, since you're going to the trouble of rebalancing and looking at it, to consider shifting to a percentage-based rebalancing.
Money is tight everywhere these days. It's everything's trying to get a quick fix with everything and stop spending so much money. It used to be that they would have all these shows where they do an elaborate makeover of one room of your house. But now they're like, no, forget that. We're just going to start over. They bulldoze your house to the ground and build you a new house in 7 days. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to live in a house that was built in 7 days. I don't care how many stainless steel appliances you stack in there. Wow, I really love the washer dryer. Okay, but you can't move it. It's holding up the second floor.
Hi, I'm currently self-employed, but I used to work in the private sector, so I do have a 401k. What do you think about combining some cash and borrowing money from my 401k to invest in some real estate or land for a long-term investment?
Bad idea. Don't touch the 401k for any purpose. If you pull the money out of the 401k, you're going to pay taxes plus a 10% penalty. And that drag will dramatically reduce the available cash for you to then use for reinvestment purposes. In some 401ks, they'll allow you to borrow the money out so that you can avoid the taxes and penalties. But even that can be a very serious trap because the money has to be repaid. And if you separate from service, meaning you leave that job, that money has to be repaid within usually 90 days. And if you don't repay it within 90 days, the money that you didn't repay, again, becomes taxable with a 10% penalty. Well, you're not going to be able to repay it because you've reinvested it into real estate somewhere else, so it's not available to you. Plus the interest you're going to pay on that loan, the fact that the money is being liquidated out of the investment account creates a huge drag. So I would encourage you to find the money elsewhere to make those alternative investments. Maximize the money in your 401k by contributing as much as you possibly can. Make sure you're getting 100% of the employer match that's available, and leave it alone. Keep doing that through retirement. Yes, make other investments, but find the money elsewhere to do that.
Okay, so it would make more sense to get a mortgage then, to make an investment like that.
A mortgage on the investment real estate?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Everybody pretty much knows how I feel about long-term mortgages, the fact that I love the idea of getting a big, long mortgage and never paying it off. So you would assume that that's how I feel about investment real estate as well. In fact, I don't. I would personally prefer that when you buy real estate, that you pay cash for it. I'm not talking about your residence. Your residence should have a big, long mortgage on it, but your residence is not an investment. Your residence is a place to live. It's a home. You buy it because it's close to schools, work, and shopping, and far from relatives. You buy it because it's meeting the lifestyle need. And the fact that that house might grow in value, serendipity, that's fabulous. Good for you. If it doesn't grow in value, well, you're not expecting it to, so what? Think about your automobile. You didn't buy the car because you thought it was going to grow in value. So it's the same thing. Now, an investment real estate's totally different. Now you're making an investment as an alternative to a stock or a bond or a mutual fund or gold or oil or some other kind of investment. Would you buy stocks and bonds with borrowed money? Would you buy mutual funds with borrowed money?
No.
Then why on earth are you talking about buying real estate with borrowed money? It's the same thing. I tend to be a cautious, safety-conscious investor, so I would encourage you to buy real estate for cash. But if you don't have the $100,000 and you want to buy the real estate anyway, then yes, you're going to have to leverage it. Just like how every other real estate investor does it, sometimes successfully.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody's doing that. They're building chain grocery stores and jogging all the time, and I want to do that. I was thinking, I would love to eat right and exercise more, and then I saw how much organic food and gym memberships cost. Now I'm just like, forget that. I'm just gonna start hanging around fatter people, which is way easier. They're everywhere in this country.
Hi, Rick. I'm Amber, and I'm 22 years old. I want to know what the biggest financial danger is for someone my age.
You're forcing me to pick the one biggest danger for someone your age. Well, naturally, I could come up with a laundry list of lots of dangers for you, but you asked for the biggest, and so I'm going to give it to you. In a word, procrastination. The single biggest danger that you face is that you are not facing your financial future. It's common for people in their 20s because, after all, you're fresh out of school, you're excited about your new burgeoning career, or maybe trying to find one, and you can't possibly imagine retirement. There are two reasons for that. Number one, you're immortal. 22-year-olds cannot possibly envision their mortality. Second, you can't begin to guess that one day you'll be tired of working and bored with whatever career it is that you've chosen, and you'll want to quit. By the time you're in your 40s or 50s, your immortality will change to mortality. You see, in your 20s, the only people who die around you are parents, grandparents, older relatives. But when you're in your 40s and 50s, it's siblings, it's old college roommates. You begin to realize you're not going to live forever. And second, you'll be at that career now for 20 or 30 years already, and it's going to be old. You're going to be saying to yourself, I really don't want to do it forever, and because of my mortality, I can't do it forever, and it's therefore in your 40s and 50s that you start to think about your financial future. Procrastination. You're going to say at age 45 that you wished you'd had started 20 years ago. It's the most common thing my clients say to me. So don't delay. Start saving today for the financial future that you cannot yet conceive of, because you'll be really glad that you did.
People invest in stocks despite the risks because stocks can grow in value and often pay dividends, and offer a hedge against inflation, or because stocks can grow in value, often pay dividends, offer a hedge against inflation, and offer tax advantages. The answer is coming up in just a few minutes.
Sesame Street presents For Me, For You, For Later.
Hi! Welcome to Sesame Street. Oh, look what Elmo has. His very own dollar.
I've been giving financial advice for 25 years. These days, though, it seems like everyone's getting into the financial advice business. Even Elmo is now setting out to prove that you can never be too red, too fuzzy, or too young to learn about money. And I completely agree. Getting parents to talk about this tough topic with their children is one of the essentials of personal finance. Elmo's workbook and DVD is called For Me, For You, For Later. And I went to Sesame Street to learn more about it in a conversation with Rocio Galarza. Or at least we tried to have a conversation when Elmo would let us. Take a look. Rocio, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Elmo, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Rick. It's nice to meet you.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you too. We have so much fun talking with parents all the time about their personal finances, but moms and dads are shocked at how young their children are when they become involved with money.
It is shocking sometimes, but the truth is that their life skills and financial concepts can be learned very, very early on.
Yeah. Elmo loves to save.
You do, Elmo?
Yeah.
Where do you get money?
Well, Elmo gets money from his mommy and his daddy when he does chores. Yeah.
And when you do chores, and what do you do with the money that you get?
Well, Elmo likes saving his money in 3 jars. One for saving, one for spending, and one for sharing.
Well, who do you share your money with?
Elmo shared his money and gave Cookie Monster $1 to buy a cookie.
And did Cookie Monster share his cookie with you?
He did. It was really cool. He shared.
That's one of the most fun things to do with money, isn't it? Sharing it with others.
Yeah, it really is.
And so some of the joy of money comes not just from spending it, but from sharing it.
Yeah, and saving it.
Where do you save your money, Elmo?
Where does Elmo save his money?
Mm-hmm.
At home. In jars.
In jars? Did you make the jars yourself?
Yeah, that was cool.
And so money is actually fun.
Oh, money is a lot of fun.
And do you find that you always like to spend all the money that you have all at once?
No, that's not good.
No?
No, because then it won't like get more and more and more in the jars if you keep spending.
So what are one of the big goals that you have, Elmo, that you'd like to spend money on in the future?
Well, Elmo would like to get a new tricycle.
Oh, that would be an awful lot of fun. And Rocio, is that one of the key concepts of teaching children delayed gratification?
Absolutely. We say that saving is really about learning to wait. And we encourage children to learn to wait because the long-term effects of learning to wait can not only affect their financial concepts, but also they can have long-term effects on their lives.
Waiting is tough.
Oh, it really is, isn't it? But you know, they say that a penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah, but Elmo might be too old to get the tricycle if it takes that long. Elmo might have to get a bicycle.
Well, I think that would be just as good as well, don't you think?
Yeah, Elmo does too.
So how do parents teach their children? Because so many parents want their kids to learn about money, but they are kind of lost at how do you talk to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old about financial concepts?
Well, the truth is that you can do it in your everyday routines. Things like, how do you make choices every day? When you're going to the grocery store, the supermarket, how do you make those choices? Will actually help children understand that spending money is about making choices.
Yeah, and Elmo's mommy and daddy have jobs, and so they earn money, so they teach Elmo that too.
And do you like the idea one day that you'll be able to have a job and earn money too?
Oh yeah, Elmo would love that because Elmo wants to be a teacher. And Elmo knows that teachers get paid too.
I was hoping, Elmo, that one day you would want to be a financial planner.
That's too big of a word.
Elmo, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having Miss Rocio and Elmo too.
High five?
High 4.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Rocio.
So, did you answer the question? Let's see if you're right. People invest in stocks despite the risks because all these things are true. Stocks can grow in value, often pay dividends, offer a hedge against inflation, and offer tax advantages.
Before we go, a couple of thoughts about today's show. Several times we saw a conflict between people's perceptions and reality. Take retirement. I'll bet you thought most married couples retire together. The fact is, though, that 4 out of 5 don't. Take stocks. A lot of people are afraid of stocks. They think the stock market's dangerous. The fact is that history has proved that stocks are the best performing asset class. So ask yourself, what are you really relying on that's really just a misconception? If you talk with a financial advisor, you just might discover that your facts are really fiction, and your mistaken beliefs could be costing you a lot of money. And that's the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next week.